be U of A Police Department Chief Daykin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. One of the benefits of being one of the later speakers is that a lot of the people have already made a lot of the points that you already intended to make. I've been involved in testimony and response to a variety of bills promoting guns on campus and the relaxation of gun legislation and gun training in the state of Arizona for a number of years. I too encourage everyone to read this bill, and I encourage you to find all the other bills that have been introduced in the House and the Senate that also intend to loosen the regulations on weapons in various places. Some of the other bills also affect our campus. As some of the other speakers have stated, and some of the others that are coming, I am not anti-weapons, anti-gun. I have been carrying a firearm for a living since I started carrying one in the Marine Corps in 1967. I've been carrying one as a police officer ever since. Firearms are incredibly good tools, but everyone who uses them and knows them, whether it's for sporting purposes or for work, understands that they are a liability that has to be managed. Every time firearms are handled, it increases the opportunity for accidental discharges, for theft, for unintended consequences. I don't believe any of us have ever said that if the gun regulations are relaxed on campus or eliminated, that these other things that have been discussed will happen. What we have said is it certainly increases the chances that they can happen. I will be the first to say that laws, regulations, policies will not stop the person who is intent on causing harm to others if they have no regard for their own well-being and the consequences of their actions. That is proven periodically by people who are able to shoot and wound or shoot and kill the President of the United States. And I don't think anyone would argue that the President of the United States has the best security of anyone in the country, and probably in the world. So I will acknowledge that that can happen. But the reality is that if guns are not allowed on campus, then there is an expectation when a gun is seen that people will notify law enforcement will respond, and the appropriate action will take place. Now, someone earlier mentioned the issue of responding to active shooter or an active situation with people with firearms. I have testified in the past, and it is still my position, that law enforcement is well trained. We're required to train annually and train several times during each year on how to respond to active shooters, how to identify targets, and how to appropriately use lethal force. And law enforcement doesn't always get it right. But law enforcement is the most appropriate group of people to respond to these situations and take action. This concept that I've heard from backers of the bill, that all of a sudden all these people who've been trained will now become another force that can respond to protect others, is just not a valid argument. And while I talk about training, let me mention that over the years, Arizona's training for a CCW permit started at 16 hours of required training with the requirement that you fire a weapon, and has now been diluted to the point that it can be an hour-long class and never have to shoot a weapon. It can be your DD-214 form that shows your discharge from the military, no matter how long ago that was, no matter whether or not you were ever very well trained, depending on the branch of the service you're in and your occupational specialty. It can include a hunter safety class that you took when you were a teenager, and the weapon you shot was a pellet gun. So this concept that the people who are in possession of a CCW permit in the state of Arizona, or, as the bill allows, in possession of a CCW permit in any other state with whom we reciprocate, is trained so that they can take the right actions, I think is a fallacy. So our position has been and remains that our university campuses are safer without having the ability for students and the public, because if you read the bill, this is not just students. This is anyone who has a CCW permit. Our campuses are safer if we continue to allow the Board of Regents to have the ability to set the policies and the rules that govern safety on campuses, and we keep guns off campus. Thank you.